In late 1940s, a terrifying experiment was allegedly conducted inside a secret Soviet facility. Five prisoners were locked inside a sealed chamber, and for 15 days, they were forced to stay awake using an experimental stimulant gas. At first, everything seemed normal, but after a few days, the subject began to whisper to microphones, screaming for hours, and tearing their own bodies. By the end of the experiment, the researchers reportedly realized something horrifying. The prisoners no longer wanted to sleep. The story first appeared online in 2010, posted anonymously on creepypasta forum. At first, people assumed it was just another internet's horror stories. But the more readers discovered the details, the more disturbing it became. Because unlike monsters or ghosts, this story felt almost believable. And honestly, that's what made it terrifying. According to the story, the Soviet researchers promised the prisoners freedom if they stayed awake for 30 days. The chamber contained food, water, books, and microphones for observation. For first few days, the subject behaved normally. They talked quietly, read books, and discussed personal memories. But after day 5, everything changed. The prisoner became paranoid. They stopped speaking to each other and instead began whispering directly into the microphones, almost as if they believed someone inside the room was listening to them. By day 9, the screaming started. One prisoner reportedly screamed for hours straight until he physically damaged his vocal cord. Then suddenly, silence. The researchers became nervous because the microphone still detected movement inside the chamber, but nobody was speaking anymore. When they finally looked through the glass, they allegedly discovered something horrifying. The subject had mutilated themselves. Pieces of flesh were missing. Blood covered the floor, and according to the story, some prisoners appeared strangely calm, as if they no longer felt pain. Now, obviously, there was no evidence for this experiment actually happened, but over the years, a disturbing theory started to spread online. Some people believe the story became popular because it accidentally touched on something psychologically real: sleep deprivation hallucination. Studies have shown that extreme sleep deprivation can cause paranoia, hearing voices, emotional breakdowns, and even psychosis. But internet theorists took the idea even further. Some claim that prolonged sleep deprivation may push the human brain into a completely altered state of consciousness, almost like reality itself starts breaking apart. And this led to one of the creepiest theories online: the idea that prisoners weren't becoming violent. They were becoming aware of something humans normally cannot perceive, something hidden behind consciousness itself. And honestly, even though it sounded insane, that idea stuck with people. Because deep down, humans fear losing control of their own minds more than almost anything else. According to the story, the researchers eventually entered the chamber, and what they found horrified them. One prisoner allegedly begged the scientist not to remove the gas. Another reportedly screamed, "We are the madness that lurks inside all of you." And then came the most famous line in the entire story. When asked what they had become, one of the subjects supposedly replied, "We are you." At that point, the experiment ended in violence and the facility was abandoned. But here's the truly fascinating part. Even after people learned the story was fictional, the fear never disappeared. Because the Russian sleep experiment was never really about Soviet science, it was about human psychology. The fear of isolation, insomnia, paranoia, and losing your grip on reality. And maybe that's why the story survived for so long online. Because somewhere deep inside, people wonder what would actually happen if humans stopped sleeping completely. Some horror stories scare people because they're fictional. The Russian sleep experiment is terrifying because parts of it almost feel possible.